MacDonald Mines, the news recently, that's BMK on the Toronto Venture Exchange, as they released some results on the Scadding Deposit just outside Sudbury, Ontario. With me to run through the details, their chief geologist, Jean-Francois Montreuil. Jean-Francois, I appreciate the time and update here. I know you released some numbers here to the market. I certainly want to get to those, but before we do, it's been a while since we've had an update from MacDonald. Before we get to the latest numbers you put out there on the SPJ property and the Scadding Deposit, why don't you maybe give us a field update, boots on the ground, maybe a little more intimate update of the project itself and most specifically the Scadding Deposit.
So we have actually started to compile the results of our field program that was done in 2020. And the results from that have highlighted very interesting features regionally on the property, especially on the large-scale control on where deposition of gold happened in relationship to the Scadding Deposit, but also in relationship to many of the other mineralization occurrences that exist on the property. So we have identified that the Scadding Deposit is located at the intersection of that actual plane and a major north-south corridor of deformation. This corridor of deformation is interesting because we can trace it over a few kilometers, and it's possible as well that other showings of significance in the southern province, like those located at Wolf Lake, are also related to that north-south corridor, which we can trace from the Grenville front to the south to at least the Wolf Lake showings to the north, which are located approximately 24 kilometers north of the Scadding Deposit. In addition, we're looking at the Joven side of the property, which MacDonald has also been doing some work in 2018, where we have identified promising results inside channel samples for polymetallic gold, cobalt, copper, silver, and nickel mineralization. There's some indications in the geology that this zone of mineralization could be associated with mineralization in the Scadding Deposit. There is a considerable bend in the orientation in the Joven area, and this could be related to the fact that the Grenville, which is a younger orogeny, which means the buildup of a mountain range, has pushed and transposed mineralization in the Joven area into a different orientation from what we are seeing at the Scadding Deposit. But reinterpreting our field data and looking regionally at historic data, including geophysics, we now have indication that there's a possible association between what we're seeing at Joven with this cobalt, gold, silver, nickel, and copper mineralization and what is observed at the Scadding. If we take a strike length of potential mineralization along this, we could have approximately 10 kilometers in terms of potential strike lengths between Scadding and what we are observing at Joven.
So let's get into the recent numbers here that you guys released. Break those down for investors.
So this drilling that we've released recently was the first stage of bridging the gap that exists between the South Pit and the Scadding underground mine. We have indication that there is folding in the geological sequence and that the Scadding mine could be hosted on one side of a fold, and there could be another zone of high-grade mineralization that sits south of the Scadding mine in between the South Pit and the underground development. And part of our 2020 drilling that we have been doing in the last few weeks was meant to see if there was a potential connection between the South Pit and Scadding mine and a zone of mineralization comparable to South Pit or Scadding mine that remain to be discovered in between these two mineralized features. Between the Scadding underground mine and the North Pit, there's a possible scenario comparable to the one between the Scadding mine and the South Pit that could happen, and some of our drilling is going to test that hypothesis as well.
So knowing what you know now, I got to imagine you guys are pretty excited. So what's the game plan moving forward here? I got to imagine the drills are back out early in 21.
Yeah, so now that we have realized that there's a potential connection between what we are observing at Scadding and what we are observing at Joven, in addition to the results of the new IP survey we have completed over the Scadding Deposit, but also over promising zones of mineralization we have identified at Joven. With the IP survey, we have identified compelling geophysical anomalies that are spatially associated with a zone of cobalt or copper or gold enrichments at surface, which are defining a promising drilling target that should be tested early in 2021 when we start working again after the new year.
Okay, we'll appreciate that update. Again, that's Jean-Francois Montreuil. He is the Chief Geologist, MacDonald Mines, that's BMK, on the Toronto Venture Exchange. Certainly appreciate that update, Jean-Francois. We'll look forward to checking back in when you get the drills rolling again in the new year.
Okay, thank you.